Beautiful. Hello, everybody in our community. It is Karrie coming to you here, Mountain Soul Guide, coming to you from Austria. And I'm so juiced and excited to bring to you tonight, my friend, Laura Plahuta. And am I saying Plahuta right?
You are. You're nailing it.
I nailed it. You. And I got to see Laura for the first time live about a month ago or 3 weeks ago in Canada. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing her again. And I have Laura here tonight because she's going to talk about an incredible program that she's got going that's coming up soon. So I'm going to let her get into the juice of that. But first off, I've known Laura for actually a couple of years now, 2, maybe going on 3 years. What an incredible soul this woman is, just feeling her energy. I mean, I don't have to say it. I know you guys feel it. With that smile of hers, and her energy just emanates off. But along with that, she is an advanced spiral practitioner. She is a Reiki master. She's an executive recovery coach and the founder of Reignite Your Soul. That amongst many other talents that she has. And so she wants to inform you of this incredible program that's going to help so many people. And she's going to say it the best, much better than I can. So Laura, girlfriend, jump in here and tell us what this is about and who it's going to help and how. Recovery Rise.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Karrie. My heart is just like so full just being on here. Every time I get to spend time in your presence, I just feel so blessed. So thank you. And to everybody that's on here live with us or catching the replay, thank you so much for being on here. I'm very grateful. I'd love to share a little bit more about it. So Recover and Rise is a program that will be launching on the 31st of January. So it's coming up very soon. And it is for coaches, for creatives, for entrepreneurs, and also for those aspiring to get into this a little bit more. And so I'll share a little bit of a story with you about, I think it was 2 years ago now, when I came home from Colombia, actually, and I started, I was moved back to Canada, and I was at a place in my life. I had my whole vision for my business. I knew what it was that I wanted to do. I had started taking on clients, and I was like, I knew that I had a lot of value to be able to share with people. And what kept happening was that I kept moving through these cycles of burnout. And so previous to me doing this, I was a paramedic. I know you know that, Karrie, but I was a paramedic, and I was just kind of got caught in these overworking cycles and burnout cycles. And I ended up having a lot of health issues. That was actually when Isagenix came into my life, and was so grateful for the adaptogens and all of those pieces that was really able to help me get my body back into hormonal balance and having the stress hormones come down and really start treating my body in a different way. And that was kind of what catapulted me into this new shifting my lifestyle and understanding trauma more and understanding more about compulsive patterns and the emotional pieces that happen underneath our bodies that then create our way of being. And so when I got into this, I came home from Colombia and I was like, okay, I'm starting my business. I had this big vision, knew what I wanted to do. And I would have clients. And then there was times where I would just go through these big pieces of depression or these big pieces of anxiety. And I had this big vision. I knew I wanted to bring big things to the world. And I was really struggling. I was struggling with low self-esteem. I was struggling with anxiety, struggling with big depression. And it was like a roller coaster. That was actually when Julia came into my life. So at that point, I had put it out there. I was working with another coach at the time and was doing a lot of somatic healing. And it was going really great. And I said to her, and she's a really good friend of mine, I said, I don't know why I'm canceling this, but I know I need to cancel what we're doing together. I'm very grateful for the work that we're doing, but there's something else coming in for me. There's something else coming in. I don't know what it is. And that week, both Julia and Crystal reached out to me in the exact same week. And they were both spiral practitioners. Crystal actually went through with Julia and then got certified as a spiral practitioner right after that. And so they both reached out to me, both with very different energies. Crystal was very high energy. She was just glowing. I'm like, whoa, like, what are you doing? This is insane. Julia was just this very grounded energy. You know, Julia and her energy. It's just like, she sits back and she listens and she's so present. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it is that you do, but I know that this is exactly what I need. So I ended up going through Spiral with her. I ended up going through Recover and Rise with her, which is the program, the 11-week program that starts on January 31st. And so I did both of those with her. And over the last couple of years, my life has transformed so much, where now like I'm feeling so confident, feeling so good, bringing all of this energy and to the world, and having my clients and being able to support them and doing like big things and making big moves in life. And it feels so good and it feels so aligned. And our intention with this round of Recover and Rise specifically is to work with coaches, to work with entrepreneurs, to work with creatives. Julia is an incredible singer, songwriter, and musician. There's a lot of people that have went through Recover and Rise in the past that are amazing, like DJs, like producers, lots of creative people, and also aspiring people who were like me, who were kind of in the very beginning of their journey. Like, I know I have big things to bring to the world, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to unfold quite yet. We're going to be collecting an amazing group of humans that are going to move through this 11-week program together. And we're going to be providing you with all of the emotional tools to be able to navigate the day-to-day life, so that we can step more into our embodied self, where we are feeling more confident, where we're feeling more aligned, where we have those support systems in place to really be able to help us to shift into the bigger service and the bigger contribution that we want to make for the planet. And so what that looks like with Recover and Rise, it's an 11-week program. So each week we come together on Tuesday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we hop on Zoom. And each week we go through a different tool. So we're teaching you the different tools. So each week there's a different theme. So in the very beginning, like, we're going to be learning about the actual behaviors that we have that maybe aren't serving us. And one of the biggest things that I realized along my journey was that we pick up all of these defense mechanisms and different behavioral traits and things about our personality that we perceive as ourself. But a lot of them we actually just picked up as a protection mechanism from childhood trauma and things that we've experienced in our past that made us put up these walls and stuff that really shifted us and molded us into who we are. So this program is basically helping you with tools you can do in your day-to-day life when things come up, to be able to work and dig underneath the surface, to start uncovering a lot of these pieces about you, who you are, why you do the things that you do, and how to really connect deeper with the emotional piece underneath. So we go through actually having the awareness around all of those patterns that we go to, and those could come through as addiction. That's why, like, Julia has a background in recovery work, and so she works with a lot of people with addiction. And it was interesting when I first started moving through the work with Julia, I was like, I don't have any addiction. Like, what do you mean? I don't need recovery. And then I realized that I was like, oh my gosh, my whole life I've been falling into the people pleasing, right? Which is one of the biggest things when it comes to experiencing that trauma in childhood. And a lot of the traumas that I experienced they were emotional traumas. So there was a few that we would consider like bigger, like a little sexual trauma when I was 3, which I don't even remember. But it all kind of impacts, and the body remembers all of these traumas and the mind forgets. So as we move through life, we pick up all of these things and these ways of being, and then all of a sudden it starts showing up in our lives when our relationships aren't really going the way that we want them to. We're not able to show up in the way that we want to in work or our careers, the way that we connect and our intimacy, right? And even just having conversations like this, where we're fully present, we're emotionally connected to each other. And there's so many ways that can kind of show up. So really allowing us to shine a light with love onto those pieces of ourselves where we're kind of maybe running from ourselves when we're overworking, or maybe we are going to alcohol or we're going to drugs. I know there's even a point in my life where I was going to meditation to escape the reality.
Me too. Yes. But we didn't learn that until way later.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm talking 10 hours a day, the Ironman of meditation. And I would repeat them because I just couldn't find the solution. Yeah. And it's so interesting that you brought that up, because addiction can be in different forms.
For sure. Yeah. And Gabor Mate, who's a doctor that works with trauma and addiction out of BC, he said everybody is an addict. And it makes sense because humans have gone through so much trauma, right? Even when you think they found through studies that trauma stays within generations for 7 generations, which means that our body is also holding generational traumas from the past 7 generations. Think about all of the wars and all of the stuff. Like, I know my family being from Austria, it's like, even like hearing the stories from my Opa and my Oma and what they went through, and then imagining what their parents went through. Like even my, I think it was my Opa's father's brother was in like the same barracks as Hitler in the war, So like there's like deep seated stuff that's in there. And all of this stuff is also held in our bodies. So it was interesting for me that I was like, oh my gosh, the person I was 6 years ago when I got on this journey of learning about the traumas that I experienced, I'm a completely different human being, because at that point in my life, I was living based off of like the shell that I created for myself in order to keep myself in the state of survival, instead of now being so liberated and so free and actually being able to thrive in life. And it's possible for everybody. And so that's what Recover and Rise is. So we go through that. We go through understanding about fear and how that shows up in our life and how to work through it, how to understand the mind a little bit better so that we can really start bringing home all of these little pieces and loving the ego and loving all of these other parts of ourselves that sometimes we kind of like shove off and dismiss. It's really about bringing our whole humanness together and really loving every part of ourselves. It's about understanding resentments, how sometimes when things happen in our past, we can hold regret for ourselves and hold resentment for ourselves and beat ourselves up and speak poorly to ourselves and really not really believe in ourselves as much, or even holding those resentments for other people as well. And when things happen in relationships, we hold those resentments, and that really is what comes in between relationships and makes things fall apart. So when we can start understanding all of these emotional pieces that are happening underneath the surface that we actually can't see, then we can start clearing them and shifting them. And then it starts on the physical level, starts really shifting things in our actual life when it comes to our purpose and feeling fulfilled and feeling more peaceful and at ease and having more love in our life, having like nurturing, healthy relationships. And then we go into forgiveness pieces and really bringing our contribution and our legacy to the world. So it's going to be an incredible, incredible program. Where we're going to be diving into all of this stuff over the course of 11 weeks. So
sounds flippin' amazing.
I know.
And I know just by putting yourself in a container with other people, the healing is so much more powerful when it's with other people that maybe with different backgrounds, but like-minded, going in the same direction. And whether online or live, it's like we didn't have this stuff way back when I was dealing with a lot of my heavy stuff. There was just a counselor or a psychotherapist and Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And there was no real other options that we knew of. So now that we have things like this and to help with trauma is massive.
Yeah.
One of the things that just I noticed in my life, and maybe other people, maybe Recover and Rise can help with this too, is we can feel like everything's really good, but when we feel we're called to a different level or we want to do something at a different level, that's when stuff really gets ruffled. Is when, okay, I'm here now and all is going good, but I know this is what I'm being called to. And when you start or when I start moving in that direction is when it can feel like I'm moving back, because stuff is being triggered like crazy.
Yeah.
So this is probably also for people that are well on their way in service, know where they want to go, but maybe hit a roadblock or some trauma bumps or things like that because I notice it can really set you back.
For sure.
Yeah. And when you think you're on that road and you're grounded, and then but something can really be, like you said, generational, or something that comes up and like pull the rug from underneath you. Might be for a short time, but it sounds like something like this can support also things like that.
Most definitely. Yeah. And you hit it on kind of like on the head when you said like about things kind of coming up unexpectedly. And that's why you see sometimes there's people that build these incredible $1 million empires and it all comes crashing down. Right? Because when we're not building things from that emotionally stable place and having the actual daily tools. And that's what I love most about Recover and Rise. The spiral is an incredible modality to help dig to those deep roots and the activations and the triggers to clear them out of the body. However, Recover and Rise is really that piece where you're learning the daily tools to be able to go through, so that when you're moving to that next level in your life, right? Every new level, there's a new devil. And there's a saying that says that there's going to be these continuous elevations, right? Where we're continuing to strive for more. And it feels good to be feeling purposeful and going after our dreams and doing all of those big, ambitious projects that we have. But stuff does come up, right?
Yeah.
And when we learn those daily tools to be able to do that, like even now, Julie and I, like, we're talking to each other all the time right now. She's finishing up her very first album in music. And so she's actually transitioning out of the recovery work into this as her next legacy project, where she is shifting into her music full time. And then I'm kind of helping her with Recover and Rise and helping to run this a little bit more. So this is my next legacy project. So it's kind of cool how these tools, like we're calling each other and we're like, okay, yeah, we're just about to do a live in our Facebook group and it's on fears. And we're like, okay, yeah, what's coming up? Lots of fear. So we're there, we're going through all the modules. And that's the thing, is it's like, this isn't just like you learn it and then all of your fear is gone.
You're going through it too with it.
These are human pieces that we need to learn to work with. It's about learning how to work with our human operating system that we have been given. These bodies are incredible. And even the fears and the resentments, all of these things are teaching us new things about ourselves, but we haven't been taught how to actually use all of the stuff that's coming up and understand how it all pieces together, so we can really step into that full self mastery of understanding how we operate and really stepping into our highest timeline for this life, or our highest impact that we can make in that service and that contribution. We're seeing with everything happening over the last couple of years, like the world is a mess. The world is a hot mess, and it needs amazing people with brand new ideas that are going to start bringing them to the world with conviction and bringing them to the world with certainty that they know that their ideas that they have are going to create a big, massive impact to the community that they're working with, or even on a larger scale, and scaling it into bigger things. But we need people to really believe in themselves, which it all comes down to working through all of those activations that happen in our childhood. Right. Yeah. And it really does take that big, deep trauma work to go all the way back to all of those pieces. And like you said, when that stuff comes up in our present day life, I always just say it's coming up, it's coming to the surface because it's ready to be looked at. It's ready to be looked at, it's ready to be learned from, and it's ready to be transmuted, so we can really take that piece back into ourselves and step more and more into our power and into our sovereignty as we continue to move forward in this lifetime. So that's why it is for the aspiring, but also just as potent for the people who are already very successful in everything that they do, but wanting to really deepen that, what they're doing, and that embodiment of who they are, to really bring what they're doing in a more aligned way and a more purposeful way to the world that feels good for them, because we don't have to be living in this paradigm where we feel like we have to be pushing and hustling and like pushing past our body's limits, right? It's about listening to our body's voice and following that alignment, so that we can maintain our own peace. We can maintain being in our hearts, our heart centers. We can maintain having joy in our life. I know you're somebody who loves joy and play as well, where we can be building our legacies while also having all of these incredible emotions that are happening as well, even in relationships and all these pieces, and having the proper tools to be able to navigate that stuff on the day-to-day life as it comes up.
Holding the container that can hold all of that, that's everything.
Yeah.
That can hold all of it.
Yeah.
That's the journey here.
Exactly. Yeah. And being able to do it for ourselves. Like, I think there's nothing more empowering than learning how to do this for ourselves, right? Like, I love having coaches and mentors, but when I can learn tools like going through the spiral practitioner training, when I learned how to do this stuff on myself, I was like, I no longer have to go outside of myself to receive this stuff. I can now do it for myself. Right. Or the tools you learn in Recover and Rise. Like, I can literally, like, when shit comes up, I can literally be like, okay, going to module 4, gonna go work on my
yeah.
You know,
I'll be back. Give me a few minutes.
Legit. Yeah. So
I love it.
Empowering to know that we have that, plus having that support in that community, because it isn't all about, oh, I have to be hyper independent. It's about being the interdependent in relationships where we have the tools for ourselves. We know what to do, but then we can also choose to then ask for a friend to hold space for us, or ask that person to be that reflection back to us, that we can learn and really having that, both the sovereignty within self, but then also being able to have that within relationships as well. And that's really where I see the power is coming and moving forward in relationships, is when we can really start doing that. That's where we're going to be able to come into community very strongly. And even like astrologically, I know we were talking about this earlier, like we are coming into the rise of the people, where community is really coming together, and there's going to be a massive shift in power dynamics that's happening in the world. And it's exciting when you can have people that are just like human, starting to bring their ideas to the world and really seeing the value and just doing it because they want to bring contribution to the world. They want to bring impact. They want to be able to shift people's lives emotionally and really just be able to make this planet a better place so that it's more equitable for everybody.
You had said that over the last while, everything kind of looks like a mess in the world, but I also think the opposite of that is true. The possibilities are more and expanded, and like I haven't felt or been in contact with before. So there's that, and there's the other, which we can choose, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And we need to be able to see the darkness or the shadow pieces so that we can actually have that polarity of where we want to go as well. Right. But then when we fully accept that, that's when we can really shift and pivot into our light and our power. And it's the same thing with the shadow work of all these pieces. When we can't acknowledge our own fears, when we can't have that radical responsibility to say, oh, like I'm feeling hurt right now, or I'm feeling certain ways, and we can learn to accept that, or accept the shame that we hold for something that we did in the past. Right. So we need to be able to see and shine that light on all of the darkness so that we can then be that loving presence for that thing, to then bring it in and integrate it into ourselves. And then that's where we can really be in our light and in our power and really be able to open up. So it's the same thing for out in the world.
Well said.
This like reflection of what's actually happening within us. So the more work we do within ourselves to start accepting all of these pieces of ourselves that we've dismissed or we haven't looked at over the years, then the more that we can then step into that light, which then the more we can then start rippling it out without even trying, right?
Yes.
Like you're just doing it because you want to do it, because you love it, because you enjoy it. And then it just, the ripple happens. You don't even have to think about it.
I love it. So well said.
Thanks, Karrie.
Girlfriend, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if anybody listening, because that was a lot, and a lot of, you took me on a ride with everything you said, and I felt it. So even more than the words Laura said, I know you can feel what she's talking about, because that's what this is about. So if you have any questions at all, if you're watching this live or the recording, drop them in the chat. Yeah. And then Laura will drop in the chat as well, where you can connect with her and have more info about the program. And yeah, I think anything else you want to say, Laura, because that was very, very thorough on what you can expect from this.
Thanks, Karrie. No, I don't think so. If you're interested and you're ready to kind of take your life to the next level, and you're wanting to do that in a community environment where you're going to be held and supported and provided those tools, then it could definitely possibly be something for you. So I can put in a link that just is in a little application form. So you can just go ahead and just fill out all those questions. And then Julie and I will reach out to you to just schedule a little 30-minute chat, just to hear more about what your vision is, what you want to create, what you're seeing your challenges are, to see if Recover and Rise will be something for you. And then the very first one is on the 31st. And we've actually opened up the 31st to the public. So anybody can join in on that very first workshop for Recover and Rise. It is $60 to attend that one workshop. And then if you do want to join in after that into the rest of it, then we'll take that and reimburse it toward the program. If you know that you're ready to jump into the full 11 weeks, then you can fill out the application form and hop in to the call and get enrolled right away for the 31st. Or if you want to kind of have that little taster as to what you can expect with it, then you can join us on the 31st for that first one. So I'll put that in the comments as well. But if you have any questions or anything, just put them in the comments or just reach out to me personally, and I can definitely answer them for anybody. Yeah,
well, I can guarantee being in a space with these two women, you will not forget. This will touch you in a big way. Oh, so my friends, thank you, Laura, again for coming. And we're going to be on again next week with something else.
Yes.
So appreciate what you're putting out in the world, and following your star, your North Star.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody else for listening in. And have a fantastic day and night wherever you are in the world. Love you, girl. Mwah.
Thank you so much, Karrie. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Okay.